Welcome students to the third session of chapter 13, Organism and Population. In the previous two sessions, we read about different aspects of ecology. We read about how the organisms are affected by the abiotic factors. We studied different adaptations in different organisms in different geographical areas. In the second session, we read about population, attributes of population, and growth model. Now we will talk about population interactions. Biological interactions. As John Donne says, no man is an island. Yes, this saying is true for organisms in an ecosystem. No organism exists in isolation. You are well aware of this diagram. This single individual is alone, not happy. But when they are in group, they are happy, they are eating, they are enjoying. So this group of organisms makes population. One type of population also cannot live alone. They cannot survive. They live together. They make community and interact with the physical world. They also affect each other in a particular geographical area, say biome. So we find different types of interactions among the species, among the population. All the vital process, growth, nutrition, reproduction require such interactions. These interactions are very much necessary for the survival of a species. So simply you can say population interactions is the interaction between different populations. It refers to the effects that the organisms in a community have on one another. Broadly classified, these population interactions are of two types, namely intraspecific interactions and interspecific interactions. Intra means within. When the interactions taking place within the species, among the organisms of the same species, it is said to be intraspecific interactions. When the interactions are going on among individuals of different species, it is called interspecific interactions in between different species. By observing this table, you can have a look on various types of population interactions. These population interactions may be having positive effect on each other, negative effect on each other, or sometimes do not affect at all. You are seeing that when both the species of the interactions are helping each other, it is said to be mutualism. When both are at harm, it is competition. When one is at benefit and the other is at harm, it may be predation or parasitism. When one is at benefit and the other is not affected, it's commensalism. When one is at harm and the other is not affected, it's amensalism. So you are seeing that population interactions may be beneficial or harmful. They may be positive interactions, they may be negative interactions. Positive interactions help one another in respect of food, shelter, or transportation. And they may be negative when one is benefited and the other is harmed. we will see different types of positive and negative interactions. So, positive interactions are mutualism, commensalism, and proto cooperation. Negative interactions are amensalism, parasitism, predation, cannibalism, and competition. We will take these positive and negative interactions one by one with suitable examples. Let's start with mutualism. It is a positive type of ecological interactions in which both interacting populations are mutually benefited. There is give and take mechanism. Sometimes mutualism is obligate. It is very much necessary for the survival of both species. It is somewhat different between proto-cooperation because proto-cooperation is facultative where species are helping each other, but one species may survive in the absence of another. You see, butterfly sitting on flower, how it is helping beautifully in pollination. On the other hand, getting food. So this is a very good example of mutualism. So pollination process, one of the most commonly observed mutualism is found, that is the interaction between two species of insects or birds with the flowering plants. The pollinators benefit from the interaction by receiving nectar, and the plant gets its pollen transferred from one plant to another. Another very good example of mutualism is symbiotic nitrogen fixers. Of course, free nitrogen is about 80% in the atmosphere, but plants are unable to use it until it is fixed into nitrogenous compounds like ammonia, nitrites, or nitrates. This work is done beautifully by bacteria. So, a common example of this mutualism between plants and nitrogen fixing bacteria is found in the roots of leguminous plant. Lichens, a very good example of mutualism. This is obligate mutualism. Here, two species, one of algal group and one of fungal group, living together, known as lichens. Algal partner is known as phycobiont and the fungal partner is known as mycobiont. Fungus retains water and takes up nutrients, minerals from the surrounding area and provide to algae for making food. In return, algae is providing carbohydrate and other organic nutrients for the survival of fungus. So these are the lichens, very good example of mutualism. Next example is mycorrhiza. This is the symbiotic association between fungi and the roots of higher plant. The fungi host in the roots of plant, either on the surface of the roots as ectomycorrhiza or penetrate deep into the cortex of the root as endomycorrhiza. Fungi help the plant in absorption of essential nutrients from the soil, and the plant in turn provides the fungi with energy yielding carbohydrates. So, very beautifully they are living together. It's mutualism. Proto-cooperation. It is also a positive type of population interaction, but it is not obligatory. This is the difference between mutualism and proto cooperation. Both are positively interaction, but this that was obligate. They cannot survive without each other. And this is facultative. This is not obligatory. Here you see sea anemone living on its shells gives the crab an active defense against predators. Since the sea anemone will eat just about anything in the sea, it gets to eat whatever bits the hermit crab leaves behind. So, easily available food to sea anemone belonging to group Coelenterata. On the other hand, this hermit crab is protected by the tentacles of sea anemone. Here you can see an example of proto-cooperation. It is cleaning, the bird is cleaning. And see, the alligators know, this crocodile knows the benefit which it will get. The cleaning is done by the bird. It's proto-cooperation, helping each other. It's getting food and its mouth is cleaned. Another type of population interaction is commensales. Commensalism is also a positive type of interaction where one organism is benefited and the other is not affected, neither gets harm nor any benefit. So, commensalism is an association between two organisms in which one benefits and the other derives neither benefit nor harm. Here, the species involved live together without entering into any kind of physiological exchange. Beautifully, you are seeing this clownfish. It's living among the tentacles of sea anemone. The interaction between sea anemone that has stinging tentacles and the clownfish is a very good example of commensalism. This is very common experience. You see the buffalo in the grazing field. They are followed by egret birds. They get easily available insects which fly haphazardly by the movement of the cattle. Here is a remora fish. It attaches itself to a shark, uses the shark for transportation, and eat all the food that is left over from the shark. The symbiosis relationship between them is commensalism because remora is getting its food and the shark gets no benefit. So these were the examples of commensalism. So these were two positive interactions. One was mutualism and the another was commensalism. Lianas. It is also a very good example of commensalism. Lianas actually are vascular plants. They are rooted in the ground and maintain erectness of their stem by using of support from other plants. They have no direct nutritional relationship. They make their own food, just they take shelter upon other plants like grapes. So lianas, which are getting benefit of the shelter of erectness, they are known as commensalism example. Epiphyte is also a very good example of commensalism. Epiphytes are the plants which grow on another plant. Here also they take shelter. They have hanging roots. They do not need any nutrients from the plant. They are not affecting another plant. Hence, they are benefited just taking shelter and known as epiphyte. They differ from lianas in that they are not rooted in the soil. They have specialized roots. They have hanging roots to absorb moisture and nutrients from humid air to prepare food. These roots, hanging roots, have a special type of tissue known as velamen, that is spongy multiple epidermis, covers the roots of epiphytic plants and capable of absorbing atmospheric moisture and nutrients. Orchids are very good example of epiphytes. So epiphytes are also interactions of commensalism. Now we will talk about certain negative interactions. One of the interacting population is benefited and the other is harmed. Negative interactions, as I told you, are competitions, parasitism, predation, amensalism, and cannibalism. Let's talk one by one. Competition. Mutual use of limited resources by population of two or more species. Here you are seeing the same food for these two species. They are competing for the food. This is competition. Each individual adversely affect another in the quest for nutrients, living space, or other common needs. Individuals harm one another is attempting to gain a resource. So this is competition. If we see outcomes of competition, in competitions, one wins and other loses. We say it is competitive exclusion. Neither wins, both coexist together, or both lose, there is mutual extinction. So, competition outcomes may be competitive exclusion, coexistence, or mutual extinction. Again, categories of competitions are intraspecific or interspecific. If competition is between individuals of the same species to share the same type of habitat, to share the same food resource, it is called intraspecific competition. Sometimes competition is between different species. Totally unrelated species compete for common food. For example, in shallow South American lakes, visiting flamingos and resident fish compete for the same zooplanktons in the lake. This is interspecific interaction. Gauss gives competitive exclusion principle. During competition, the fitness of one species is significantly lower in the presence of other species. We say the intrinsic rate of increase, that is reproductive potential, may decrease in the presence of another competitive species. As demonstrated by Gauss, he gives exclusion principle. It states that two closely related species competing for the same resources cannot coexist indefinitely, and the competitively inferior will be eliminated eventually. The abundant tortoise in Galapagos Island became extinct within a decade after goats were introduced on the island. Apparently, due to the greater browsing efficiency of the goats. So, competitive exclusion principle states that no two closely related species which are competing for the same resources coexist indefinitely, and competitively inferior will be eliminated eventually. There is one good example of competitive release. If some species have localized distribution, it is restricted to some small geographical area. Here we see that competitively superior species expand dramatically and inferior ones are removed. Connell's elegant field experiments show that on the rocky sea islands of Scotland, which harbor various types of crustaceans like balanus or cathamelus, balanus are superior crustaceans, whereas cathamelus are inferior ones. Simply, who will flourish? Who are the superior one, and the inferior one will be slowed down in their race. So this is known as competitive release. Second type of negative interaction is parasitism. In parasitism, two species are interacting in such a manner that one species harms the other by making use for shelter or food. Parasites live on the living host. They take nutrition, they take shelter, and in return, they harm them. When they are living on other body, they may be present inside the body or outside the body. When they are present on the surface of the body, like lice, ticks, they are said to be ectoparasites. And when they are present inside the body of the host, like worms, like tapeworm, like plasmodium in the RBC, so they are known as endoparasites. Here, one individual, that is one species, that is parasite, harm the host. To receive maximum benefits from the host, parasites have evolved certain adaptations. One of the most important adaptations found in the parasite is morphological adaptation. They are adapted to survive either in the body or on the body. They are attached to the body by suckers, host. There may be more reproductive potential in parasites because they have to survive anyhow on the body of other. Then more reproductive potential is there. They have no digestive system, no need of sense organs. Mostly they complete their life cycle in two hosts. So these are the certain parasitic adaptations found in the parasite. Another negative interaction is predation. It is interspecific interaction where one species called predator is benefited and the other species called prey is harmed. One organism, that predator, kills another organism called prey. Functions performed by predation are very important in an ecosystem. We can say important function of prey predation is they are the conduits of energy. They transfer energy from one trophic level to another trophic level. Secondly, they maintain balance in the ecosystem. All the organisms are living because of this food chain and ecosystem is balanced. Pre-population is kept under control. If they will increase, of course, they will affect the ecosystem. So, pre-predation is very much important for keeping pre-population under control. Even this mechanism is also used to control pest management. And the fourth important function performed by predation that they maintain biodiversity in a community. So pre-predation, of course, one is harmed and the other is benefited, but this ecological interaction is equally important for an ecosystem, for the transfer of energy, for maintaining ecosystem balance, for maintaining prey population under control, and for maintaining biodiversity. When prey predation, of course, everybody has right to survive. So what prey do it? Prey species have evolved various defense systems to lessen the impact of predation because they have to continue their species, they have to save themselves at least. In this diagram, you see it is protecting itself, it is taking the shape of other organisms, it is taking the coloration, it is being avoided by the predator. Sometimes they get camouflage to avoid being detected by the predators. Very good example, you see alligator, this chameleon, not visible, taking the color of the surrounding and protecting itself from the predator. Sometimes it is seen that they become poisonous. This fly, it is feeding on calotropis, and by eating on calotropis, it is protecting itself from the predators because it become distasteful and become poisonous and predators avoid it. Sometimes they take, see how they are warning, I'm dangerous, don't come. So they warn predators that they are not good to eat. Sometimes they release some smell. Oh, I'm so bad, don't eat me. So in this way, prey species have evolved various defenses to lessen the impact of predation. Not only animals, but sometimes plants become predators. You have heard about the insectivorous plants. They eat the insects to get nitrogenous mineral. So most of the predatory organisms are animals, but there are some plants like Nepenthes, Drosera. They consume insects for their food. They are known as insectivorous plants. They are adapted in remarkable way. They attract, they catch, they digest their victim, that is insects. Their foliar appendages produce protein digesting enzymes of the insect. Predation grazers, yes, they can be considered as predators. They are the predators of plants. So grazing is also one example of predation. Plants also have evolved various mechanisms because when they have to protect themselves from predators, because grazing animals are found nearby them, hence they have to protect themselves. So they have developed various mechanisms, morphological and chemicals. You see, morphological, they have developed spines, thorns, so that predators, the grazing animals, do not eat them. As I told you, calotropis plant, this calotropis plant has chemicals like cardiac glycosides. By eating on such plants, animals become sick. Another example is Amencelis. Amencelis is negative interaction in the sense that it is the relationship between organisms of different species in which one organism is destroyed, its growth is affected in the presence of other, and that another species is not affected at all. You have heard about Flemings. He used to grow bacteria every day on culture, and when comes there was no more bacteria, and he found a fungus is growing, and this was the discovery of penicillin. So penicillin, antibiotics, chemicals released by fungus inhibit the growth of other bacteria. This is known as good example of amensalism. Even the toxicity of pine leaves prevents the seeds in the area from germinating. You have heard about the black walnut tree. It secretes chemicals to its neighboring plants. The other plants are not growing in the area because of these chemicals. These are the example of amensalism. One more interaction is found, that is cannibalism. This is the act of consuming another individual of the same species as food. They are eating their own species for because of competition. It is a common ecological interaction. It is found in animal kingdom. It has been recorded in more than 1,500 species. Resources such as food, shelter, and territory to regulate population. They eat the individual of own species. So this is an example of cannibalism. So we read about various type of interactions. Thank you, students.